The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 436. Mr. Somich.
Pegasus Huzzah!
Pegasus World Cup Day is just upon us here. It'll be in 2 days, Saturday, January 28th, at Gulfstream Park. And this is your last full day here in, I was going to say in the States. Florida's still in the United States. In your current state, then you will be in an inebriated state at Gulfstream Park here tomorrow. So how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. Haven't drank in 48 hours, so I'm ready to go for the weekend. Looking forward to jumping on a flight, grabbing a Bloody Mary on the way down there, and being at Gulfstream Park on Friday. Can't wait to be down at the racetrack again.
A big fan of taking, I love ginger ale when I'm on an airplane, but I don't know why it just tastes better at a super high altitude. But you mix that with some rum or some bourbon, that's how I like to fly. But however you like to fly, as long as it's got alcohol in it, that's what matters the most. Boy, this chat is a lot of fun. I don't really know what to say about all of that. People wanting us to do a stripping episode. Not if, but when this show falls on April Fools. We've done this long enough. You would think that. I think we've actually done an April Fools episode already. Yeah, we missed the opportunity.
We switched with blinkers off.
Oh, that's right.
That was their highest rated show ever.
That's true. Yeah, it was their highest rated show ever. But hey, we're happy you're here to join us. We got Gulfstream Park's late pick 5. We're not going to waste too much time because Mike and I, a lot of times we agree on things or see things pretty clearly. Boy, let me tell you, that did not happen in this one. And understandably so, if you haven't looked yet, not just the late pick 5, the entire card at Gulfstream, there's not really one big standout horse that you can go, yeah, that's the one that you can single and feel confident about. It's not like when we had Life is Good or when we had Nick's Go in the Pegasus World Cup in the past. So it's a very tough card. Let's get right into it, buddy. Riders up. Oh, buddy, Warrant got a win today. I did notice that he was, I think he was back at Fairgrounds today. But yeah, Warrant was back and got a win. And yeah, that's all we have to say about that. We do have the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, January 28th, race 9, the grade 3 WL McKnight Stakes. 12 males, 4 and up, going 1.5 miles on the turf. It's a 3-turn marathon. Mike Maker's won this 4 of the last 6 years. Todd Pletcher's won 3 of the last 8, including with Avon, who comes back to defend his title here in the spot. Where'd you go on top?
I went with my old friend Channel Maker on top. Hey, I don't think I've ever picked this horse before. Generally not a big Channel Maker fan. This isn't a very good field for the level that we're expecting on these type of days. Channel Maker won last year at Keeneland. It was the same thing. The field wasn't that great. This to me is a kind of a class play where speed's been doing well. Channel Maker should be forwardly placed. There isn't a ton of other speed in this spot. I'm going to rely on Channel Maker's class to get the job done. I'm going 4 deep. I'm going to go 2 deep in 3 of the 5 races. I'm going to spread in the 2 others. This is one of those races that I spread out a little bit, but I did have Channel Maker as a lukewarm top pick.
This is one of those races we're completely disagreement. That's all right. I'm going to go with I went with the 2 of the Mike Maker horses in here. He's got quite a few of them. I think 4. Yeah, I see 4 there on the screen. Excuse me. I'm going to start with the number 9 Value Engineering at 8-1. A horse that, if you remember him, was with Chad Brown for a long time. There's a lot of ex-Chad Brown horses that show up on this card. It'd be really fun if they had a bigger day than old Chatty Chad did. Value Engineering, first time out for Mike Maker. It was in the H. Allen Jerkin Stakes. Supposed to be a 2-mile turf marathon over this course. It got rained off onto synthetic. Didn't matter. The horse won pretty handily. Beat a bunch of horses he's going to show up with to face here. If you watch the replay, it's not just that he won impressively first time with Mike Maker. He was 3-4 wide all 3 turns. This horse never got to save ground, and yet he wins by a length and a quarter. Now we're second off the layoff. And remember, Mike Maker won the Pegasus World Cup Turf in 2019 with Zulu Alpha, a horse that was well into his career. They paid a lot of money for him. They paid $80,000 for that horse. Brought him right back in here. This is a horse that they bought privately, same connections. Michael Hoy, the owner, bought him off of Chad Brown and Klarovich stables. They're putting him in this spot. I think all systems are go, and I love that Jose Ortiz is riding back at an 8-1 price.
Yeah, I don't. So this would have been my fifth horse in the race. I considered the 9 quite a bit in this spot. I don't take that 3 wide, 3 wide, 3 wide trip as seriously as I think you do. That's actually not a terrible trip on the synthetic. Yes, you're not saving ground, but the outside has been better on that course going multiple turns. And so I don't mind losing that type of ground, especially when like they were dawdling up front too. When you look at that pace, 117 to the 6 furlongs. So they weren't moving very quickly there. I wouldn't be shocked if Value Engineering wins, but it was the last one off my ticket. If you want to add it on there, I'd be 5 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 5 instead of 4. But I just couldn't get there. I did like a couple prices in this spot. My next pick is the 3-horse Palo Alto here for Grand Motion. I realize we're going to need to take a step forward here, but I like the fact that we're trying to stretch this horse out. The distance shouldn't be much of an issue out of a grandson of Galileo. The horse did go 1.25 miles twice in Europe, but both of those were in tougher spots and wasn't quite able to run his best race in that spot. I like all 4 of the U.S. efforts. I think all of them were fairly good. I like the fact that we're stretching out in distance. I think we're going to be a little closer to the pace, more like what we saw in the Artie Schiller, where we had a pretty good race, ends up running 3rd in that spot. I like the pickup of Dettori because I think he fits this horse very well from just a strategic standpoint. And I still think Grand Motion thinks this is a pretty good horse. And that's where I'm really leaning on here, is that Grand Motion keeps putting this horse in tough spots. I like the stretch out here. I think we got a good shot at being closer to the pace because of a paceless race. And I think the distance is going to make the difference today for Palo Alto. So I put the 3 in second. And then give me the 5, Agatere at 20-1 in third here. So that's going to be my 3rd horse on the ticket. If you look at that race last time out, okay, so we run once in the U.S., go 2 miles, able to win going 2 miles. Kerry Brand, generally a jumper trainer, but very good trainer, very good horseman who can win on the flat track as well, brings this horse back into that H. Allen Jerkins that was going to be, again, at that 2-mile distance on the turf. Take the race off the turf, you put it on synthetic, and if you don't, watch the replay of this horse at the start. All systems were locked right there. I mean, the horse literally rears up out of the gate, way in the back, never a chance. But note the price. The horse was $2.80 to 1. Now we're getting 20-1 on the board, where we know the horse won't have an issue with the distance. We know the horse likes the turf, with a trainer that likes going long, and a horse that's been both tactical and closed in Europe. If you go through the races, some of them are forwardly placed, some of them are way back. So style-wise, this horse can handle whatever's thrown at it. I like the 5 post because that first turn comes up real quick, going 1.5 miles at Gulfstream Park. And I don't mind Leparoux in these spots. Every now and then you see him steal these races on the front end or sit very close to the front end and take the race away. I think 20-1 is a crazy price on the 5 here.
I agree with you. That is a great price if you like the 5 Agatere. You're right. So that was the Value Engineering race that you're talking about when he threw his head. Reared at the start doesn't do it justice. That horse almost flipped backwards when the gate, because his head was cocked so far to the left. I think that the gate guy was holding on to him a little too tightly there, but complete scratch off. And you're right. The horse was 5-2 in that spot. And several horses are coming back, like I mentioned. That is the one for sure that you could just say, draw a line through, no chance really whatsoever. The 3 Palo Alto was one I looked at pretty closely. Motion and Dettori are going to team up with a couple horses in this card, or in the sequence that we're going to talk about here. The fact that Motion, immediately puts him into a grade 3 at Pimlico, and he gets second to Set Piece, who's a good horse, especially going a mile. The other races after that, they're spotty here and there, but you look at who we faced last out, City Man, Decorated Invader. They're both in the Pegasus World Cup Turf that we're going to talk about later. Big Everest beat him 2 back. Big Everest was a monster at one point on the turf before he suddenly hit a wall, but he was facing good horses. So you're getting great value on both of them. Next up for me, I'll talk about next up for me. The other maker I'm using, I am going to use the 11 Red Knight. The post is a little bit of a concern for him as well as for Value Engineering, but last year returned from an 11-month layoff, first start for Mike Maker after being with Bill Mott. He wins the Colonial Cup at Colonial Downs. He wins 2 straight 1.5 mile races, goes to Keeneland for the Sycamore. He's way too far back in that big field there. A really rough trip. Corrales didn't do him any favors, and yet he's still close to be within a half a length of second place in that race. Yes, he was 8th, but it was a monster wall of horses behind Highland Chief there. Scratch off those last 2 starts. Like I said, he didn't belong in the Breeders' Cup Turf. There's no reason really that he should have been there, other than I think he won the spot because he won the Kentucky Turf Cup at Kentucky Downs. I think this horse is going to be great. Irad is picking up the mount. That's a big sign to me. He's a big, deep closer, but Irad knows his turf course and how to close on it as well as anyone. He was Colonel Liam's rider for the last two Pegasus World Cup turfs, won both of those with Colonel Liam. So I will ride with Irad Ortiz Jr. on Red Knight. And then from a pace perspective, and we'll talk, I saw someone had a comment in the chat. We'll turn it over to you, Mike, to talk about that in a second. I went with the 4 Aban, the defending champion. His last few races, boy, they did not go so well for this horse. He wins the Jerkins December 2021, goes to McKnight, presses the pace, draws off to win by 2 lengths, looks great. And then after that, things just kind of fell apart for him. The McDermott, he didn't get the lead. That he didn't get to be close to it. That's a scratch off. The Pan American didn't have the lead. Still ran a good second to Gouffo, who ended up winning a bunch of Grade 1 races throughout his career. The Man of War, not a good spot for him. The Belmont Gold Cup. At that point, I think Todd Pletcher was like, look, we haven't given this horse a break since he broke his maiden over about a year ago. So we're going to give him a break. They brought him back an optional claimer. Boy, I really hope that is not a sign this horse is just giving up racing, because that horse, as the 9-5 favorite, should have had every reason to succeed and completely fell apart. Now we're stretching back out. The fact that Pletcher puts him back in here, gives him another shot, and Luis Saez, who was Channel Maker's rider for forever, said, no, this horse that really has just been off form his last 3 races I was aboard, I'm going to ride him instead of Channel Maker. I think he's got the inside draw to either set the pace if he wants to, or be very up close to the front. I don't see the 3 Palo Alto going shoddy. He's not going to go. Time for Trouble May, not really sure what Jaramillo will do, but I think he's going to sit a great trip, saving ground or at least 2 wide, and be in range. If he's good enough, he should be able to at least be there to defend his championship. But that is a big if. And at 5-1, I understand if you're like, not going to take 5-1 on him here.
Yeah, 5-1 seems wildly low. I mean, this horse should be 20-1 in this spot, something like that, for me to be interested in him. Bunge, like, the horse has just stopped 5 straight races, and you mentioned, okay, they're tougher spots, good horses. The paces have been slow in a lot of the races where he has just stopped as well, and so I'm not willing to take him at this long of a distance. And I do think there's other pace pressure in here. Carl Ramron brought up a horse here, Harlan Estate, the 8 horse, who I think is going to be very involved in the early pace. If you want to make a case for him being able to go 12 furlongs, that's where the key is here, is can we get that 12 furlongs?
Make the case that Rosario put him out in front. That's the case I want to heard made here, Carl Ramron.
I mean, who knows what Rosario is going to do? But you would think that horse is going to show some speed and be out front. And Rosario did take one field gate to wire this week so far, so that's not terrible. And you're getting 20-1 versus 5-1 on a horse that's consistently quit. So if I was going to play a speed shot here, I would play Harlan Estate trying to go gate to wire versus Aban going gate to wire. I did go use one other horse here. I'm going to use the 6 Temple. This one, to me, makes a ton of sense on paper. You get a much better post than the other 2 makers on the outside. Horse has been fairly consistent. Yes, we've lost to Red Knight before. Yes, we've lost to Aban before. But this one is one where the off-the-bench efforts have been very good for this horse. The distance suits this horse, 3 seconds and 6 tries. And Temple loves Gulfstream Park. 15 races over this turf course, 5 wins, 5 seconds. I mean, we're just bashing Rosario and I'm picking Florent Giroux. But, shit happens. So I'm going to go with the 3, the 5, the 6, and the 7 here, and what is really a wide open race. I mean, this is, I would say this, to me, the second toughest race in this sequence.
I do want to go back to Carl Rammer real quick. He said, given that they'll be going a dawdling 12 furlong pace around 3 turns, does that influence how you cap the normal speed bias on the Gulfstream Park turf course? For me, the answer is no. It's a marathon. It's probably just going to be an all-out sprint at the end. But what about you, Mike?
No, it doesn't. I mean, lone speed is still really dangerous there. There are certain horses like Aban who I'm going to kind of throw out, even though they can be lone speed in these situations because we've seen them quit in those styles. But I would still want horses that are forwardly placed or saving ground. I mentioned on the synthetic, saving ground, not as important. On the turf course, it is very important going 3 turns. You want to make sure you're able to. And I also would pretty heavily favor the horses from that 7-8 post in, because of this, how fast the first turn comes up here. Because you could see some horses hung 3-4 wide around the first turn, and then all of a sudden you're jockeying per position, which generally means you're giving up ground or using horse in the front stretch the first time through, because you either have to tuck behind someone or push the horse forward in front of someone. Either way, not an ideal situation if you want to try and then save ground in the second turn. And then, oh, by the way, you're probably going to have to swing wide the third turn unless you're up close. So it just creates tough trips for anyone who's kind of outside that 8 post who's not going to go to the lead. Right, Harlan Estate may go to the lead, therefore the post isn't as big of an issue there. But when you get to Value Engineering, Reigning Spirit, Red Knight, Wicked Fast, you got to work out a trip from those spots, and you have to be the best horse if you're going to win the race.
We'll move on here, but I did know that Florent Drew was sitting on win 1999, looking for 2000. Didn't realize he rode Warrant today. So Florent Drew officially a 2000 win machine.
Fitting team up.
Sincere congratulations to him on that one. Yeah, fitting team up there, but it is, he did get 2000, and that's 2000 more than Mike and I have combined. So good for him. Second night, late pick 5, Gulfstream Park, Saturday, January 28th, race 10. It's the grade 3 Fred Hooper Stakes. 13 older males. They don't even fit on the screen here. Going a 1-turn mile. Actually, it will be 12. Hoist the Gold scratched out of this. So huge field, even though there's now just 12 instead of 13. 4 Saffy horses who could all be juiced to run their career best effort. Which one's going to do it? I don't know. Who you got on top?
I do know the answer to that, but it's my second pick, not my first. When you look through this field, it just screams collapse. There is so much speed in this race for a mile effort. We're going to look at 22, low 40 or high 44, low 45, and there's going to be some horses that are stumble bunnying around the turn and I even get to the stretch before we start to see some stumble bunny action. I like horses that are closing in this spot. I want nothing to do with horses that are going to be up front because there are literally 5 horses that want the lead in this spot and will do almost anything to get it. I ended up with Miles D on top on the rail, who I'm a little concerned about because it's Chad Brown off a layoff. It's Rosario. There are red flags with this horse, especially at 3-1, but the pace setup should be perfect for Miles D in this situation. Has some tactical speed, should sit mid-pack here and have by far the best kick. If Miles D is ready off the bench, he should be very tough in this spot. We'll see if it actually plays out that way. But if you look at him on paper and you look at the setup he's going to get, if you believe Chad Brown has him ready, and Chad Brown generally does have horses ready first time out, you got to think Miles D is going to be a major player in this spot.
I didn't use him. Number one, Rosario being aboard, drawing the rail like this. I'm worried this horse is going to get pinched too far back.
You're just auto-chucking Rosario, huh?
Not completely. We'll get to that in a minute. In a later race. But this horse, I remember him. Every time I'd watch him run, he's just a big, lumbering horse. And to me, a mile, especially a 1-turn mile, this is just a prep for him to start doing stuff that's going to be longer down the road. I don't think that he's a 1-turn mile horse. I know he broke his maiden at Belmont doing a 1-turn mile, but you look at his best races, 2 turns at Saratoga, 2 turns at Aqueduct. I know a mile and 16th at Belmont is a 1-turn race, but he was, 1-5 favorite that day. The Mine Shaft off of after a little bit of a layoff, it was, a big lumbering third. He was behind Olympiad and Silver Prospector, but you looked at the distance, he was within a length and then just kept falling back. He's not a horse that's got a lot of kick to him. He just kind of keeps coming. And it seems like a horse that, maybe you build him up for the Breeders' Cup Marathon. Maybe that's what he'll be best at. I couldn't, especially now that I see that he's 3-1, I couldn't use him here. Top pick for me, number 6, Black Belt. Magically, I don't understand how this happened. Peter Walder's just an absolute perfect trainer. 3 for 3 with 3 straight career high buyers since Walder claimed him for $16,000. And then he's going to show up here. Let me repeat that. $16,000 claim. Then he gets a 76 buyer, 91 buyer, 97 buyer off the bench. We're second off the layoff. Irad is keeping the mount. This horse is 5 for 10 at Gulfstream. He's 3 for 4 at this 1-turn distance. The only time that he lost was the race that he got claimed out of. Look out. I don't trust Peter Walder any more than I trust Safi Jusuf, but let me tell you, I think this horse is going to be ready to absolutely fly. He also has good tactical speed. We talked about there being a lot of speed in here. I think he'll be able to sit off just at the right time. Irad is smart. He'll wait and pounce at the right spot.
What's the fastest mile this horse has ever run?
Oh, geez. Let's see. 135.46.
So the last time out, you're going to have to improve by close to a second to be able to win this race. That was my biggest issue here, is that buyer seems wildly inflated for the end time and the track variance that was going on there. I don't think that's a real 97. I think that's a low 90s, kind of what you saw last time. Now, obviously, Irad and Walder, it's a team. Things can happen. So I wouldn't be shocked if this one takes a little bit of a step forward from a 91, but not from that 97. You're not seeing a triple-digit buyer here from Black Belt coming out. And I disagree that there's tactical speed. I feel like when you watch Black Belt's race, he's one-paced. It's a fast pace, but he wants to be as forward as possible in every step of the race. In this spot where you have Niche and you have Octane and you have Picking Up Pennies who are all going to go too, I think it's just going to be trouble for anyone who's on the lead. So I couldn't put anyone in there who I thought was going to be forwardly placed. And honestly, Black Belt would probably one I'd consider if I was going to look at those forwardly placed horses, or if there's a couple speed scratches. But man, I think it's going to be awfully tough for him to be able to be close to this pace and run a career best race right off of a career best race.
If anyone will do it, I'm going to trust either Safi Joseph or Peter Walter to get the job done. Next up for me, I know you went too deep, so I'll go next. I went with the number 9 Endorsed. I didn't mean to have him highlighted there on the screen, but yet there he is. There we go. Third off the layoff, back-to-back solid efforts. I don't understand, and this isn't me being glib this time. This horse is just giving, like, he's looking the best we've ever seen him, and he's now 7 years old. He's still intact. He just has looked like a completely different horse in those last 2 starts. I went back and watched the replays because I was like, this can't be that same Endorsed, but it is. Somehow it's still the same Endorsed there. I really think that he's going to have the good tactical speed. He's got a good kick. Saez is picking up the mount. Ignore the fact that we talked about this before. He just doesn't ride many maker horses that have much of a chance at Gulfstream Park. Away from Gulfstream, they're great together. Not so good here, but he also has 2 wins and 6 in the money finishes from 7 starts at Gulfstream. And that one time he was out of the money, last year's Pegasus World Cup at 85-1, he got 4th in that field. That was a really good effort considering he was in way over his head at that point. So I went with him here. I don't mind that T-Gaff is going to stay on Prevalence, who I'm not touching here. Saez was aboard for the only other time that he rode this horse, he got a win. So I have Endorsed in second.
Yeah, I endorsed in third. He was the last horse off in this race for me. I like the fact that we went from 6.5 to 7, and now we're going to go a mile, kind of building up into this race. So I wouldn't be shocked if the 9 makes some noise here. I went to the outside of the 9. I went to the 10. The Reds is my other horse that I'm going to use. And this is that sheer pace collapse angle. I think the Reds is going to be absolutely flying late in this race, has shown speed going longer, has been going 2 turns. Now we're cutting back down to 1 turn. The pace is going to set up for someone to come from off it. And the Reds is going to be the horse that I think is going to benefit from the most, being way back, going to have to work out a trip, going to have to get through some horses. But I love the 12-1 price on a horse that I think is going to get the absolute best pace set up. And you look at the other Safi horses in here, they're going to all hit the engine. I mean, you know that Picking Up Pennies is going to go. You know that Mish is going to go. You're going to have other horses up there with the 2 of them. You're going to see the pace set up. And I think the Reds is the horse that can take advantage from off of it. I think that's the horse, the best late closing click kick here going a mile.
He's going to need a collapse. He's got 5 career starts at a 1-turn mile or shorter, and he's never even come close to sniffing the board. So I didn't like him for that. But those races, he probably didn't have all this speed to be facing and come back to him. Especially the Greenwood Cup at 1.5 miles. I mean, that, first of all, probably way too long for a son of Tonalist. But that was a very speed favoring track as well, so it didn't do him any favors. I did also use a Safi Joseph horse. I did not use that one. If there's one horse that if something crazy happens and everybody goes, there's a bunch of speed in here, I don't know, I'm going to take back slightly, like, say, Mike Smith on the 4 Octane. Watch out for Mish, the number 3 horse. Edgar Zayas, I've picked him before and succeeded on this show. I think he's the speed of the speed. He drew inside all of the other speed. I don't think that, like I said, Mike Smith is going to go. If Jose on another Safi horse Picking Up Pennies, if he goes, that would be stupid. So I don't think that he necessarily does that as well. You start knocking off, the 8 Doc Amster, I know, is one that you've loved before, but he's like Jared. He can't last more than a minute and change. Horse is going to be second off the 6-month layoff, cutting back to 1 turn, which is his specialty, after trying 2 turns over this course last out and just kind of fading a little bit. I think that gave him some good fitness. 2 for 3 going a 1-turn mile. Only loss was at the end of a 10-race sequence without a break, and the winner was Cody's Wish. He ended up being pretty good in mile races. So all that to say, I did like this. I went 369. Damn, she fine.
If it weren't for all the speed, I would love the 3 in this spot, because I do think the 3 is the best speed horse and probably the speed of the speed. But there's just so much in here. It's hard for me to end up with any speed horses. So I ended up going with the 1 and the 10 here and just trying to get through with 2 horses.
What the hell's happening? Oh, somebody's at my door, apparently. It always happens, right? When we're live, I get a delivery of some sort. Third leg of the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park, Saturday, January 28th. Race 11, the Grade 3 Pegasus Filly and Mare Turf. 11 older. Well, it was 11 older girls. Shit, I didn't realize this. We've got 3 scratches here. We're down to a field of 8. Okay, well, that changes the complexion a little bit. They're going to mile on the 16th on the grass. Trainer Chad Brown has won the first running of this race last year with Regal Glory. He's got Shanna Sara in here. She's the 9-5 favorite. With those 3 scratches, probably be even a lot lower than that. Where'd you go on top?
I went with the 3-horse Wakanaka on top here. I realized we're going a little bit longer, the mile and the 16th, but last time we went a mile and 16th, Wakanaka was successful at Woodbine, winning a grade 2 there. So I'm not as concerned about the distance. I thought this horse just kind of kept getting a little bit better as the year went on. I realized that the best buyer came back in June, but if you go and look at the races that she was competing in outside of the Woodbine mile, when she was facing the fillies, she ran very well. The pace setup, I think, is pretty good for her here as well. You've got a couple horses that want to go. It should set up for horses that are sitting from right off the pace, and that is exactly what Wakanaka is going to want to do. To me, this is really a 2-horse race. I thought this was the easiest race of the sequence. I felt like you could go 3 Wakanaka and 9 Shantasara, and you were through. I'd be surprised if anyone else is able to win this. I realize Delika's in here, but I don't like the setup for Delika. Thought Lady Rockstar maybe is playable, but to me, this was a situation where you just go 3-9, you move on to the next one, and hopefully you're live into the 4th leg.
I'm going to pass on Wakanaka. She has done a great job of showing up and competing well against better horses, but she hasn't been able to beat them. And I think a horse like Shanasara is going to be better than her on her best day in this spot. I don't think that 5-1 on Wakanaka is realistic. I think that she falls down to 5-2 is a lot more real, especially with the scratches in here. I expect her to take a lot of money. I'm with you on Delika, man. If this race ain't at Churchill Downs, I don't want anything to do with her. She does not seem to really show up that much outside of Churchill Downs and whatever the hell they want to call that grass painted or that green painted mess there. We both like the Shanasara pick here, or the Shanasara horse. Classiest filly in the group. You look at who she's been facing. She's had trouble staying healthy in her career, but if her last out bomb was just a fluke, kind of a big if here, but if it was just a complete fluke here, she should be tough to hold off down the lane. And you got to like that Irad is picking up the mount as well. Shanasara, maybe she caught a little bit of the bug that Flavian Pratt's been giving to all the horses in California lately. Irad is a big upgrade over Flavian Pratt at this point. So I will take her here. Hopefully that she ends up running in this. If she doesn't, she ends up scratching or something like that, because apparently there's a big wave of scratches going on. Things are a little bit different, but I do like Shanasara here. 9-5, not happening. Even money, do you think? Does she slip under 4-5?
No, I think people are going to bet Delika. I think people are going to bet Wakanaka. So I think you're probably going to see somewhere in the 6-5 to 7-5 range for Shanasara when they break from the gate. Those two will take some money. Queen Goddess and Lady Rockstar shouldn't be cold on the board either. So you have 4 other horses that I think are going to take some action, which should help keep her price above even money. One horse who I think is a little bit interesting here, Artie's Princess on the rail. I think Artie's Princess goes. And if Delika decides, hey, I'm going to let this 20-1 shot go, and notice that Jose Ortiz picks up the mount as well. I'm going to go let this 20-1 shot go. I think Audie's Princess all of a sudden becomes dangerous if for some reason Shantasara doesn't get a clean trip, because she could take this field gate to wire if she's uncontested on the lead. We'll see if that happens, but it's something you got to at least look out for, because I guarantee you Jose Ortiz is firing out of the gate. I'm not sure what Brian Hernandez Jr. is going to do.
Well, Jose Ortiz rode her last 2 starts and fired out of the gate is not exactly what you would say happened, even though she broke from the rail last time out. I went with my next pick. I went with the 7, Lady Rockstar, the other Brendan Walsh horse in here. Second off the.
You realize that was the 6.5 and 7 furlong races, right?
She fired out of the gate at 6.5. She fired out of the gate at 6. She fired out of the gate at 6, and the starts before that. So I don't care.
21-4. She was. It's okay.
23-1, and she was 3 lengths off last time out. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a good thing you didn't put her on your ticket. That's all I'm going to say. Lady Rockstar, second off the layoff after posting career best buyer and running a solid effort despite having to break from the 9 post. Not going to do that here. It'll end up being the 6 post now that with all the scratches. Going a mile over this course. She's now 2 posts closer. Like I said, she gets an extra 16th of a mile of ground to get over before the turn. She loses Irad to Shanasara, but T-Gaff rode her to win her North American debut last May, so I like her. And then I'm going to go bombs away with the 4, Sweet Enough. Roger Atfield has sprung big surprises before on big days. He's better in turf graded stakes and overall. He's actually 15% as opposed to 13%. He got the grade 3 Appleton 1 in 2021 here at Gulfstream Park with Junior Alvarado aboard. He's hopping back aboard here. Last time out, I thought she had a really impressive kick to catch a loose leader who was gone, this seemed like, at the top of the stretch. Clicked off very easy 12s in the stretch. She averaged 11-4 splits throughout the race and was not even being asked as she was just clicking off straight 12s in the final 3/16 there. So I went 4-7-9 here, but we finally have some agreement. Shantasara, number 9.
Yeah, I just went with 3-9. I would not. Yeah, you could make a case for the 7. I don't know what you're doing with the 4. It's crazy talk.
I had to find a big bomb price in here somewhere. Let's go to the penultimate leg.
Take a drink of
No. That's a lot of fires that they got put out when Jose Ortiz got aboard. Penultimate leg of the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park Saturday, January 28th. Race 12, the first of 2 Grade 1 races. This is the Pegasus Turf. 12 older males plus 2 also eligible, going 1 1/8 on the lawn. I made a rule in here. Don't touch any 4-year-olds, freshly turned 4-year-olds that are facing older horses for the first time. I hope this doesn't bite me in the butt like that bullet did to Forrest Gump in Vietnam. Where are you going on top?
Interesting. Look, I'm going to go with the 6 Lady Spite Spear on top. I covered this race for Racing Dudes previews, and I went back and forth on this one quite a bit. I don't think this is that easy of a race. I'm only going to end up 2 deep here. But when you kind of go through everything, you got Ivar in the 10, you got City Man in the 12. Those are both tough posts. There's enough tactical speed that it's going to be tough for either of them to be less than 3 wide if they want to be anywhere close to the lead. And then you look at Lady Spike Spear. I thought that effort was great at the Breeders' Cup. She ends up running to 3rd to Tuesday and in Italian. She won 3 straight prior to that, so you know that she was in good form going into it. I like the fact that Saez is riding again. I think that is a good look there. And she's got tactical speed to sit a great trip from the 6th post. She should sit right behind the leaders, be able to make first run. I think she's got a monster shot here at 6-1. And for the record, Magic is the ornery one today, not Mike.
Whoa! Why did that come from? Not ornery at all. Listen, these last 2 races, we're going to have some agreement here. I think, did you just go too deep on your ticket?
Yeah, I'm just too deep.
You did. So we used both of them. So I definitely agree with Lady Spites here. Wasn't my top pick in the race, but it's very curious that she's here and that she's not facing the other fillies and mares. And, you don't like the other Atfield that's in there, the 20-1 pick. So it seems like she could win that or be very contentious with Shantasara. But they're going to put her in here. And I think that's really telling for Roger Atfield. He's not someone that's going to do that. I am reading the chat that I saw that. Where is it? Right there. Mike was ornery today. Papa Dude even said it. Boom. Now, I didn't think anybody was ornery. I thought we were having a great old time. By the way, Dudes Who Bet Daily was the best we've ever had today. You should check that out every Wednesday through Sunday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. I did like Lady Spite Spear. I'll let you talk about the other horse. I'll move on. The other 2 horses I used, they're going to need to get over. But luckily with Gulfstream Park, the 1 1/8, it's not a 1 1/16. It's not a mile. They have a little bit of time to actually get over. And so the top pick for me is the 12 City Man at 4-1. I'm pretty confident he's the most talented horse at this distance in this field. Post is a little scary, but beat Decorated Invader last time out in the local prep. In that race, Decorated Invader was breaking from this exact same post. If you watch what happens in that race, he breaks cleanly. Decorated Invader isn't rushed up and is able to still sit second, just barely 2 wide heading into that first turn. He had plenty of time to get settled. I got a feeling Rosario was going to be able to do the same thing here, and City Man was able to win the Fort Lauderdale because he saved a lot of ground through both the turns. I think as long as he doesn't get stuck, 3, 4, 5 wide here, we should be okay. But it is Rosario, so who knows what the hell's going to happen. Rosario, pretty cold at the meet, pretty cold lately, but he is 6 for 12 at Gulfstream Park, riding for Christophe Clement, and he's won 6 of the last 7 turf mounts on City Man. Forget the fact that other L was because of a super bad trip, because it's Rosario. It can't always get a job done, but hey, what are you going to do? We did have someone, the next horse for both of us here. Where was it? There we go. Dr. Tang wants to know, can Atone go wire to wire here, Mike?
Well, Dr. Tang, I'm glad you asked, because the answer is hell yes, he can. I like Atone here, 12-1. Clear lone speed in this spot. If you look at that last race, Atone went 1/16 over the Aqueduct Turf, looked good doing it. This is a great spot for Atone to get out, get loose. You have other horses with speed here, but no one else who ever has any interest in sniffing the lead. And that is a great spot for a horse that Atone should be a length to a length and a half up into that first turn, be able to control the pace, slow it down on a turf course that loves speed right now. I'm just going 3-6 here. I'm trying to get through this race 2 deep with a 12-1 and a 6-1 so that I'm able to spread out what I think is a very tough final race, the Pegasus. Look, City Man, I just can't with the 12 post. I would rather play City Man than Ivar. I'll put it that way. If it weren't for these posts, I'm more interested in just the general horse City Man than Ivar, especially going 1 1/8. But I couldn't get around the fact that the City Man wants to be middle pack to close to the pace. And there's so many horses that want to be middle pack close to the pace. he's either going to have to give up position or go wide. Either way, I don't love it for City Man. That's why he ended up off the ticket. I think Witt's a little interesting on the rail. I know someone mentioned that in the chat as well. He should get a very good trip, should be the inside horse of that second flight. But man, I think Atone could steal this thing out front. So I'm going to only go with the 3 Atone and the 6 Lady Spite Spear.
I would have, you know what I should have done is waited a week to get my hair cut, because I could have said if Witt ends up winning this race, I'll get my hair, I'll shave off all my hair. It's a practical joke horse going a mile and an eighth. Have we all lost our damn minds? No, get out, especially because here's a real thing. Aside from that, he's never faced older horses. We've seen plenty of better horses than Witt, much better horses than him, try to come up here and win this race at their first start at 4, facing olders for the first time after looking good in the Hollywood Derby. No. That's all right. Neither of us are using them, so that works out well. So we both like Atone. We both like Lady Spite Spear. Last one for me, the 11 Masterpiece at 10-1, bought after the Breeders' Cup and sent to Safi. I need to clarify this for the podcast people who didn't see the chat. I'm saying Juice F, not Juice F, because, well, it should be obvious. It's Safi. He's getting Tyler Gaffalione to ride back after the Breeders' Cup Turf. God knows why he was at the Breeders' Cup Turf. It doesn't really make much sense to me, but they did buy this horse privately afterwards, and they send him straight here into a grade 1 race. He's perfect 3 for 3 at this distance. Got a 3 1/4 length of victory in the Eddie Reed Stakes. Yeah, that was in California, but now we've got the Juice Man helping us out here. He's a mid-pack closer, shouldn't have too many issues with the wide draw, because, again, you've got most of that front stretch to try and get into a position and get him over. And, you know, Gaffalione is as good at Gulfstream Park as anyone, including Irad and Luis Saez. So I will take the 11 Masterpiece. I love that I'm getting 10-1 on this horse as well. That, to me, that's a big sign.
Yeah, I didn't listen to much you said there. I'm trying to sweat out a Pegasus World Cup seat. I just had the winner at Turf Paradise where the tournament ends. But if the horse is 3-1, I don't know if it's enough. So now I got to sweat out what the will pays are going to be. I think it is. I need $10. You think we can get $10 out of a 3-1? Anyway, we're going to see what happens here. That's why I was leaning over there, because I needed the horse to win, and he did.
And everybody in the chat knew it too.
Yeah, now I got to sweat out the win place prices. And Dr. Tang knows how hard I've been trying to just freaking chase this thing down. So it'd be great to get one the day before I fly there. Anyway, yeah, Masterpiece, Grace horse. Never would use it. No thanks. Not even a little interested.
Not even with the Juice Man. Navarro is the vegetable man. The vegetable Juice Man. That's him. The Safi just keeps it short and simple. Everybody in the chat knew what was happening too. They all went, Mike won something. What was it?
I was leaning, man. I had to get that horse up. I had to help it. This is Turf Paradise. The horses at Turf Paradise need every ounce of help they can get.
I'd love to know, Dennis, let us know in the chat, because you think I'm ignoring you here. This is kind of why. How do you know what my back looks like and how much back hair is on there? That's a little bit too much information. Mike got it.
Ah, thank you.
So what did it remind me? What did you win? Pegasus betting
World Cup betting challenge seat, $6,000 seat for this Saturday. And
it came at the hands of Turf Paradise.
Yeah, they've been giving you Turf Paradise races to close out the major sequences. It was yesterday and today. Yesterday I was in 4th going to the last race. I needed a horse. Didn't happen. This time we got her. Him, maybe. I don't know.
I forgot I did use another horse. We'll talk about it real quick. The 4 Hurricane Dream, the other Motion to Tory team up that's in this sequence here. This is the last one to make my ticket here for the entire sequence. But, you know, Grand Motion, 0 for his last 13, first time North American horses. It's not a great sign, but what is a great sign? Frankie Dettori rode this horse 2 back in a Group 2 in Germany, just missed by a head. There's a lot of just misses here, but I think a big reason they sent this horse over here for a 6-year-old season. They're looking for firm turf. If you actually scratch off all of these soft turf spots in his last 2 years, his time form figures actually say he fits. He's got a 114, a 114, a 113, and a 114. Those are all equivalent to 100-ish buyers for him. And if he gets the firm turf at Gulfstream Park, there was something about that was enticing. And then he had that really nice firm training turf work going 58 flat on January 22nd. You don't usually see Motion get them cranked up and running that fast, especially on turf, right before they're going to run in a big race like this. So I did use the 4 Hurricane Dream, normally a horse that I would completely pass on. To me, there were just too many signs telling me that I could fit him on here, so I did.
Yeah, I looked at this horse for quite a while, because this is the type of horse I like to use. This is the classic unknown horse, right? Where you're not quite sure what you're getting in a field that looks like it's wide open. What knocked me on this, we talked a little bit about the show, a lot of grade 2s and grade 3s but the earnings in those grade 2s and grade 3s is like $100 grand. And when you have 7 or 8 of them and the horse is consistently finishing second or third, you kind of like, what were we really facing over there? Because there are some bigger pools, there are bigger races, and then there's smaller graded stakes over in Europe. And this horse has been competing in all the smaller ones, not winning any of them, and just kind of chipping away at the earnings. So I kind of took a pass here. Like, also, you got to figure out where you're going short in the sequence. I think the fact that you're going 5 deep in a race I'm going 2 deep, and you're singling in a race I'm going 5 deep, just shows you how difficult this overall sequence is. And you got to really decide, okay, where am I going to take my shot? We both generally try and keep these tickets to under $100. If you're going to do that in this sequence, you have to take some chances.
Yeah, but this also feels like if this was a horse that went to Chad Brown, I know very different situations going to Chad versus Grand Motion. If this horse was going to Chad Brown, I feel like a lot of people would be on him. You probably aren't getting anywhere close to 15-1, and I think what actually finally pushed him over was I saw 15-1 as I was typing up my ticket, and I was like, all right, I'll throw him back on here. We made it work. Last leg of the entire late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, January 28th. By the way, if you're alive going into the Pegasus, God bless you. Good luck. Aaron and I and maybe other people, Mike will be on from time to time. We're doing a live show Saturday covering Gulfstream Park's late pick 5. I think if you're going to be alive in the pick 5 or pick 4, come into the chat. If you're not watching anything else, come into the chat and let us know during the live show, because we'd love to cheer home for you. But we got 12 horses in here for the grade 1 $3 million Pegasus World Cup. Lots of ways you could go. So many question marks. There's not a single standout here. Where'd you go on top?
I think this is the toughest race of the whole sequence. I mean, I know some people are going to love Cyberknife and make a case for Cyberknife. If you don't love Cyberknife, I would love to know how you can have a massive opinion on any of these horses. I can't believe I'm going to say this. If you told me I was going to pick this horse 2 months ago, I would have thought you were crazy.
Homer.
I'm going to take Wagering on top.
Homer.
I can't believe I'm saying it. Look, 10-1 seems like a wild price for a horse that absolutely, show the gold-plated Wagering there. Attaboy. One of the best horses last year in that 3-year-old class. Got it done. You know where he won off us all those points, Magic?
Gulfstream Park. He's a
Gulfstream Park. You know where the Pegasus is run, Magic?
Turf Paradise.
Oh, that's wrong. No, that's a receipt for the Pegasus. It's a Gulfstream Park. Look, Wagering 4 for 4 over this track. Looked very good. Reunited with Tyler Gaffalione here. We all know that Saffie's better in Florida. Has been for a long time. And when you look through this, again, we got a lot of pace in here. There's clearly one horse that's the fastest. I'll get to that one in a second because I'm also using that horse. But there is enough pace for Wagering to sit that Florida Derby-esque trip where you're just behind that first flight, able to make one move around the turn, be able to fly home. He's training wonderfully for this, although Wagering generally does train well anyway. And we're back in Florida. We're back at Gulfstream. Horse for the course here. And if you look at the numbers this horse ran early in the 3-year-old season, if that's the kind of the baseline, the improvement is there to be the best horse in this race. I respect Cyberknife. I hate Cyberknife's post. I hate Cyberknife for losing at the Breeders' Cup. I'm going to put Wagering on top.
Listen, I'm not going to hate you for it. Putting
I'm
him on
going 5
top
deep, and it's a lukewarm opinion, but I'm putting Wagering on top.
I do, yeah. That's the thing. Putting him on top is where I'm like, ooh, but using him, I don't disagree. I actually thought that his the Cigar Mile was actually a sneaky good race for him. That was the same day that was the Remsen Stake. If you remember, that inside lane was absolute trash all day. There was like a 3-inch puddle, or a 3-inch river just running that first lane and a half on the inside there. And he was stuck inside, and it was Mind Control, who was an amazing horse at a mile. Wagering, I think, is proven that he's better going a little bit longer, especially going 2 turns. Getter number, it's Peter Miller. Sometimes the juice is working, sometimes it's not. Apparently that day it was working pretty well. But if Wagering was on the outside of both of those horses, I am confident that he would have won the Cigar Mile the way that he was running that day. And you're right, Tyler Gaffalione gets back aboard. The only bad race really that this horse has on his form with Gaffalione riding was the Kentucky Derby. The Haskell was a big mistake, and we know what the ownership's opinion was of Rosario's ride that day. That's why he hasn't shown up back on this horse since then. Boy, I you know what? I applaud you for putting Wagering on top, for coming on this show and saying that is a pretty big one. I did use one of the horses that you used of your 5, and you know what? I thought this was going to be the crazy thing that was said for this race. Apparently not. I'm going to single Cyberknife here. To me, it just feels like if Cyberknife is at his best, He is better than every horse that's in this field. He's 2 for 3 at the distance. He should have won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I watched that back and I'm like, Cody's Wish just ran his absolute eyeballs out to get up there and get him. But he was fighting from the halfway point of that race all the way home, trying to go to mile. Now we're stretching back out to a mile and an eighth, where again, I mentioned he's 2 for 3 at the distance. I've seen pictures, I've seen video of how he's training. He just looks like a horse that you're like, God, he's going to be so ready to fire his best effort. Here's the problem. Can we trust Florent Geroux? Can we really trust him any more than we could trust? Well, a little bit more than we can trust Rosario, because there's some people, and if you haven't heard it yet, you will hear it all throughout the telecast. Gunrunner won from post 10 with Florent Geroux aboard. That's true. If Cyberknife's not Gunrunner, I'm not going to go that far and say that this is the same horse. However, it just feels like he's ready to go. Brad Cox seems very, very excited about his chances in this spot. If Cyberknife doesn't win, there's one other horse I think could get the job done, but I'm really just going to rely on Cyberknife to do it here. The fact that he beat Law Professor, finishing 5th in the mile, came back and dominated the Queens County Stakes with a career best effort. His next one, that to me was a good sign as well. But really, if he gets out of the gate and he doesn't get stuck super wide in that first turn, I think Cyberknife wins this.
Are we sure Cyberknife is that good? I mean, you got to ask the question at this point, right? The Haskell was kind of lucky to beat Taba. Taba was the better horse that day and didn't see him. The Travers got waxed by Epicenter and Rich Strike ran with him. Loses in a race he should have beaten Cody's Wish going a mile. Got waxed by Taba in between at the Parks Derby. Are we sure Cyberknife's good? I'm just asking the question. It's got to be asked.
I think that he is better than, at his best, I think he's better than every horse in this field. And that's kind of what led me to it as well.
But which is his best? Which of those races are you like, yes, that is the race Cyberknife needs to run again? Because it's not the Travers. That's an inflated number. And like I said, he got waxed by Epicenter and was right there with Rich Strike. I don't really think it's the Haskell. Probably needs to be better than the Haskell. Obviously needs to be better than the Parks Derby. And we're going longer than a mile. So which exact Cyberknife race is like, yes, he's the lock if he runs that.
Arkansas Derby, Matt Wynn, those were good enough to get the job done. Haskell, he got the job done.
Yeah, I know he did.
And he held off, by the way, Zandon and everybody's favorite dumb Derby winner, Rich Strike, in the Travers. Like, he had every opportunity going too long at a mile and a quarter to fade, and he didn't. Like, he let Epicenter beat him, but my God, it was Epicenter who is the best 3-year-old from that entire crop. Fight me in the chat. To me, the fact that he was second to the best 3-year-old in the entire crop there and has a win over Taba, I mean, I like both of those things.
Yeah, that's fair. And by the way, everyone has held off Sandin. Every single horse in the 3-year-old crop. So that's not really anything you could stake your reputation on. Look, I use Cyberknife too because I do think it's a legit question to ask, is he that good? Because I do think he's going to get overbet in this spot. However, I think it's a tough race, and I want to have him here because I have him as my third pick in this race, and I wouldn't be shocked if he wins. My bigger opinions in other places, and since I am taking shots through the entire sequence, literally I'm like, I have at least one 10-1 horse in every single leg of this sequence. I'm going too deep in 3 of the 5. I'm willing to use the favorite here, and even though I don't have him on top. I have Defunded as my other must-use horse. Bob Baffert doesn't mess around when he sends horses out here. And I mentioned there's a lot of speed in here. You know who the fastest of the speed is? It's Defunded. Defunded is going to get the lead. And then it's a question of, okay, let's see your face. You can come back at me in a second. If Defunded gets the lead and gets loose by a length, he's tough. And the fact that Irad decides to end up here as well, I think it's all systems go here for Defunded. I'm a little worried he takes this field gate to wire if he does not get early pressure and everyone decides they want to sit right behind him.
I didn't make a face because I disagreed. I made a face. I was like, yeah, somehow Defunded is possibly, at least from a time form figure, is the fastest horse. Obviously, it's Baffert 6-1, and you're getting Irad to ride, and that's usually kind of a scary proposition. Although it didn't work out in the Pat Day Mile, but that was a year and a half ago, and he's a completely different horse since then. My big issue with Defunded is, yeah, he won the Awesome again. That gave him a chance to go to the Breeders' Cup. Bob Baffert sent a horse to the Breeders' Cup. He knew he was facing Flightline. He had the free spot with Defunded, and he said, "No, we don't want to go. We're going to stay home and win the Grade 3." Native Diver Stakes, because that was a much better decision. Who did he beat in the Awesome again? He beat Country Grammar and a bunch of California dirt horses. When he ships out, he hasn't, or when he shipped to Del Mar, the 2 races before that, he wasn't running well. It just to me that he doesn't beat anybody, and Baffert has been on the record as saying he doesn't like to ship this horse anywhere, which was another reason he kept him home from Keeneland. He is the fastest horse according to time form. He does have Irad Ortiz Jr. riding. God, maybe I swear it's not just me just hating on Bob Baffert. I couldn't do it with this horse, but he could win. And I'm not saying he couldn't win. I think this is a very likely winner. I think this is probably the second or third most likely winner in this field. I just couldn't pull the trigger on him because I look at who he's beaten and who he's faced, and there's nothing. There's no Epicenter. There's no Taba. There's no anybody else that's in this. He just doesn't have those on his page.
Yeah, the thing with Defunded is you're right. On every point, you're right. He's not beating the best horses in the world out in California. Although Country Grammar for a while was considered one of the best older horses. He just keeps running 12s. That's the thing. He miles in 136, comes home in 150. Like, he just keeps running 12s. And if he keeps running 12s and he runs them into the ground going, 46, 110, which, by the way, he can do, it could be tough to get by this horse if he's not pressed early. So I think you got to, if you're going to spread here, Defunded has to be on your ticket from that case, because there is a much higher than non-zero chance that Defunded takes this field gate to wire. So Defunded was my second pick. I did have Cyberknife as a third, so I'm using the 3 of them. Okay, you can laugh at me. I'm using Proxy. No laughs.
I don't even have the ability to laugh at that one. We talked about who is Defunded beaten. Yeah. Who did Proxy beat? Look at who Proxy barely beat in the Grade 1 Clark, which they should demote it from a Grade 1 for the simple fact that Proxy won. West Willpower, Folsom, Last Samurai's here. He beat him in that. Or you want to touch any of those horses in this? I don't. To me, Proxy's a complete toss.
Okay, I hear the argument there. Here's the thing.
Hit the board, yes. Win, absolutely not.
Well, this horse is getting better. Okay, the last 2 races are the best 2 on the card. The horse is improving. I think Proxy has a shot to take another step forward. If he does, with a good draw, able to sit behind that speed, I think you can see Proxy make some noise here. I've always been higher on Proxy than you. By the way, I would have won our Grade 1 bet that you refused to make because he did win a Grade 1 in 2022. So,
that should not be a Grade 1 race. That should be a Grade 2 like the
tequila. If you had made that bet, which you were trying to do, I'm willing to give Proxy a shot here. Look, I don't think this field is that good. Okay, let's all just remember, Cyberknife is 5-2. Okay, you're talking like Olympiad was in this, beat him by 5 last 2 races back. Olympiad would be what price in this race? Heavy favorite.
Yeah.
Okay, so this isn't a good field. We're making cases for White Barrio. Okay, like this isn't a Pegasus of yesteryear. This isn't that you don't have those horses that are ridiculous here. You've got a bunch of horses that have a lot to prove, and Proxy. Well, I hear what you're saying, has won a Grade 1. His last 2 races are his best races. He's on the uptick. He gets a good draw with the right pace setup in front of him, which was a little higher than 9-2. But I think that if you're again, this is another spot where if you're going to spread, Proxy makes sense to spread to me.
Alex Condiff in the chat says, Samo smoking. Just wait till you hear the 5th horses that he's got on his ticket. I'd love to hear your case for this one, Somich.
With simplification? You don't like simplification at all?
So what? Being a tie for 7th, 8th? Sure.
Oh, I put the wrong number in. I'm going to be using the 7 Skippy Longstocking. Sorry.
That makes sense. Okay. I was surprised you didn't have Skippy on here.
Yeah, no, I'm using the 7 Skippy Longstocking as my last one here. I like this horse back in the Triple Crown Trail. The last race out for Safi was strong. Got to have something to roll it up with. The last race out in the Highlands Holiday was strong in the prep race over this. Now you're getting second off the layoff. I thought Skippy Longstocking was sneaky good in a lot of those 3-year-old races, and there were always excuses as to why he didn't run a little bit better. You saw the talent last time out. Now you're getting second off the layoff. I think you could see that talent reemerge here. So I'm going to put Skippy Longstocking on the ticket.
So you see, if you're looking at the past performances, Irad rode him last time out in the Harlan's Holiday, and I agree, looked fantastic, and then I think was a perfect setup for this race. Irad riding Defunded, I don't think it was Irad choosing that. I think Irad committed to Defunded quite a while ago, and Jose Ortiz is going to pick up the mount. This is the other horse. If it's not Defunded that upsets Cyberknife, I think it's Skippy Longstocking. I think this is a great pick here. Part of the concern, you can only get so much snake venom in one order. Like, how many orders is Saffy placed? And he's got a lot of horses that he's going to have to try and disperse this to. Is he going to have enough left for Skippy Longstocking by this point? But a great performance in the Harlan's Holiday, second off the layoff here. I don't think he's going to bounce. You see some of those works have been super sharp, including 47-1. Which, by the way, which was leading up to the Harlan's Holiday. That's the Mike Somich angle. It's not a bullet. It's 7th best out of 123, but he went 47-1. That's fast. I think this horse is going to be ready to go.
Yeah, he's skipping right over that track. You made a great point. Look, a lot of times you got to be worried about these horses when you see career best numbers. And you hear so many people say, oh, the horse is going to bounce, right? That career best number is kind of coming at a logical time, right? It's coming 2 months off a layoff later in the 3-year-old season as the horse is maturing. It's not that much higher than the West Virginia Derby. And then the workouts off it are monstrous. That's the thing, is that you've seen that progression continue. I think Skippy Longstock is going to be ready to go. I would not be shocked. Actually, I wouldn't even be surprised if Skippy Longstocking ends up winning this. Should get a good trip as well. We talked about how, look, if the funded comes back, Skippy Longstock is going to be one of the ones sitting right behind that pace and get first run. If Skippy I could see Way to Bar and Skippy Longstocking both turning for home head and head, and it's whether or not someone can catch them. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if the sevens ends up winning this race.
Last point, we'll wrap things up here. Chuck Brower in the chat, Skippy paired up a -1 on Thoroughgraphs. That is a very good number for him. Remember, it's kind of like golf. The lower you can get, and especially in the negatives, the better it looks there. Yeah, listen, this is going to be an amazing card, an amazing sequence here. Thank you so much for joining us here. We'll go ahead. I usually leave a pause there, but screw it. I'll just do it right now. Thanks for joining Mike and I to go through the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park here for Saturday, January 28th. A long show, but so many good races and so many big opinions. There's horses that neither of us used or talked about really that have chances too. And that, it just is one of those things that you can't use every horse everywhere. As somebody said it, I think it was Chris Maiello at the beginning. We could both spend $450 on tickets and we could both miss this. This is a very, very tough sequence. So if you're watching this and there's a horse that we didn't mention or that you're like, man, I really like this horse. Like I saw someone just mention Riding with Biden. If you really have a big opinion on a Catherine Page, go right ahead and do it. It's a big one to do there. So want to thank everybody for
real quick. That? If you were singling one horse that wasn't Cyberknife in the sequence, who would it be?
Ooh, let me look back through here. That is a good question. If I had to single somebody, Shanasara.
That's probably the logical pick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that will probably be the most singled horse in the sequence, is Shanasara.
Yeah. And I say that because I'm not that's how confident I am in that one. I'm like, the 9-5 favorite for Chad Brown.
I would single Lady Spikespear if I was singling one horse, because I think it's a wild separator and the horse has a very good shot at 6-1.
Well, see, that's why you're smoking 73K and I'm just smoking what I can find growing up in the grounds right here. I shouldn't say that. My little nephew's in the chat right now. Legitimately, that is. If you're watching the chat, hey Lucas, it's good to see you, buddy. Yeah, just kidding. Don't do drugs. All right, we're gonna wrap up the show here. We'll go and give out our tickets with the late, if I can find them here. There we go. And you updated it. Perfect. All right, we'll start off with our tickets one last time. I'm gonna go 4, 9, 11 with 3, 6, 9 with 4, 7, 9. 3, 4, 6, 11, 12. Come on, Cyberknife, my single. If I'm alive to Cyberknife in that last, goodness gracious, watch the live show. You're going to see me sweating bullets. Where are you going here, Mike?
Going to cut deep if you're alive to Cyberknife in the last. I'm going to go with 3. I'm going to play 50-cent ticket. I'll go 3, 5, 6, 7 with 110, with 3, 9, with 3, 6, with 1, 4, 5, 7, 10. Cost you $80 for 50 cents, and it will pay a lot if it hits.
Oh boy. Okay, these comments. By the way, I do want to say this on a very serious note. The chat, this is the best the chat I think has ever been for any show. Absolutely love everybody getting in here and throwing barbs at us, throwing barbs at each other. It's so much fun when we can do this. This show could go on for another hour and it's just would be so much fun. But hey, we're not blinkers off. We do got to get out of here. We'll let you get home. Mike, any final thoughts before we get? I know you're going to Gulfstream Park this weekend, so hype that up a little bit. And the reason why, other than the seat that you just won.
Yeah, well, I'm in Pegasus World Cup betting challenge. I got to go to Gulfstream Park now. So yeah, it's going to be a crazy weekend. First off, everybody show some love for Golden Gate. If you're going to play tomorrow, Golden Gate has a mandatory pick 6 payout. So that's going to be a great pool tomorrow. It's going to be very big. That's going to be later in the afternoon. I love that afternoon racing. I'll be playing it down from Gulfstream. We've got obviously Pegasus on Saturday. We're going to have a mandatory payout on Sunday at Gulfstream Park as well. So you got a couple monster pools if you want to play into. And then I'll be down at Gulfstream Park. I've got 2 live shows that we're doing on Saturday. I'll be on ABR, America's Best Racing's live show. That starts at 3:30. And then obviously the Racing Dudes is also having a live show. So I'll be jumping in from the paddock there in the race whenever I can as well. So make sure you're checking out both those shows on Saturday. A lot to watch, a lot to do, and some great racing. It's going to be a phenomenal day. And we didn't even talk about the Southwest, which I know, Magic, you're pretty excited about too.
Yeah, you got Arabian Night making his big, long-awaited debut as a 3-year-old, coming back from that huge, monstrous Keeneland effort, and we've been sitting there waiting for. Yeah, exactly. By the way, I have a 63 caliber. My Gunrunner filly is in the Sam Houston Ladies Classic. They can't watch it, can't listen to it. This is why we need to be sponsored by ExpressVPN or somebody like that, because then we could just change our location.
The feed's on RTN.
Hey now, all right. Thank you, Michael Somich, and your 7th place finish at NHC for making that available for us. The Pegasus World Cup picks and wagering guide. It's not. I'm guessing this is why Blinkers Off is delayed. They're putting the finishing touches on it. Aaron and Jared, I'm sure, are working on the live bankroll article, which is. If you haven't played it before, it's literally what Aaron and Jared are playing. If we were there at the track, we won't be there this time. But if we were there, this is what we're playing. And from our homes, this is what we're going to be doing. And a big note here, perfect 6 for 6 in the Pegasus. Can we go 7 for 7 as a Racing Dudes team? I will tell you that if we go 7 for 7 in the Pegasus, it's going to look good for me and my single in the Pegasus World Cup. But that means Mike hits it as well. And maybe Mike or I will end up cashing the pick 5. If you are playing along, let us know in the chat, in the comments. Throw your tickets down below, who you like. Follow us on Twitter for all of the insights and information, and throw us some shade or so what your picks are up there. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He's at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Remember, Mike will be at Gulfstream Park this weekend. So if you're there, hit him up. I'm sure he knows where the free booze is at. Love to see you. Love to hang out. Thanks so much for joining us. Until Monday, when we're hopefully a hell of a lot richer, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this weekend, everybody.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.